Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the CB view. Today, we're just doing a brief follow-up review of the EGO SNT2416. We had a really nice snowstorm recently in the northern mid-Wisconsin area, so it was a great opportunity for me to get my snowblower out there, really beat it up a little bit, get to some of those places where the snow plows had created some wet, dense snow, and really put everything through its paces. So I've got some footage that's going to be rolling in the background, same as before, and we're just going to start going through this here. So other than the fact that the snow was absolutely crazy and it got on the lens of my GoPro and it was getting on my glasses and I could barely see, ignoring all that stuff, the snowblower worked great. It was pretty easy to just tackle every single workload I was throwing at it, whether I was taking care of the curb where there had been a bunch of snowfall and stuff from the snowplows, or if I was just going down the sidewalk, which hadn't been touched in at least 8 hours or something. I did snowblow earlier in the day because the amount of snowfall that was happening in our area, I literally couldn't have let it sit any longer than what I did. I had to get out there at some point at night to do the round 2 of snowblowing, and everything went perfectly. The only time that it gives you grief is if there is legitimate dense snow, like slushy snow, that's built up and stuck in the auger and it can't get out of the chute. So I encountered it 2 times, I think, could have been 3, but I'll have some footage of that right here for you. It wasn't a big deal that the snowblower kind of freaked out on me for a second. It was just a little disappointing, but there's nothing to be disappointed about when it comes to a snowblower that can handle literally everything, and it just gets upset when you have legitimately dense and hard to tackle snowfall. That's just the way that it is. But it was pretty impressive from my perspective. I would say use that snow shovel that's included with the 2416. It's included on all of the EGO snowblowers, but now I realize how it actually comes in handy. It's a little bit more key than I thought it was. I knew I'd use it once in a while, but if you get large amounts of heavy slush stuck in there, there is an opportunity that the auger is just going to be like, hey, I'm trying to push it out, but I can't get any forward momentum on this to expel it out the chute. It's pretty normal. I mean, you'll run into that with a gas snowblower too. I think it's one of those things where, similar to my last video when I talk about how the EGO snowblower is really an investment, well, when you invest into the ecosystem and you invest into the snowblower, you just have these expectations that it's going to be this amazing, flawless experience every time. Well, that's not necessarily the case. The EGO performed admirably the whole way through. The only times that it gave me grief was when I went around the curb and then I got to where the snowplows were, and there was already all of that wet snow from earlier in the day. So not too much that I should expect there, actually. The EGO did its job and it did it perfectly. For me, it was just, I wish that it was even easier than what it was. Not really a big deal. So there were 2 things that came in handy this time. We have the LED lights on the snowblower, and then we also have the heated handles. I didn't get to talk about the heated handles in my last video because I accidentally cut it out. But the heated handles, they work great. It's no different than if you had a heated steering wheel on a car. It starts off getting a little bit warm and then it gets just blazing hot and then you kind of eventually turn it off. That's par for the course. The lights were so needed. For the record, in the footage you guys are seeing, I was also wearing a snow cap that has some lights built into it because, quite honestly, I needed the additional light. There were times where I was just shoveling some spots that were in my driveway that are hard to reach with a snowblower, and I would have been blind as a bat without that. So, the lights were wonderful. The heated handles were great. And other than that, I was able to use the turn handles just a little bit more. I'm still getting used to the idea of holding down a handle to help me turn my snowblower. I'm just old school, I guess. I used to work on an Aaron snowblower from like the year 2009, and that's what I used for years and years and years. And I'm still getting used to these new features. They're really nice, obviously, but you're not going to use something unless you've actually familiarized yourself with it and if you started to use it more personally. So that's the snag that I run into. Going forward, I'll be keeping in mind that if I hit a really dense patch of snow, just that if it's wet, I might need to have that little snow shovel ready. But at the end of the day, I'll ask this simple question: who cares? If you have the ability to clear out the auger really quickly and easily, and it's just a quick tap, 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 or even better, I was able to clear it just about every time by only engaging the auger again. Just to show the video again, I would have the auger engaged, it would get upset that it can't get all the slushy snow out of it. I'd let it sit for a second, and then I'd just be like, okay, re-engage the auger, and it would just fling it out again. It just didn't want to have more and more snow added onto it cumulatively, when there was a little bit of a workload that needed to be cleared out first before it could start accepting new snow. And I mean, that's par for the course. I'm really happy that it just told me, hey, I'm done for a second. Could you clear out the snow chute? One thing I'll point out that isn't in the video is that I did actually break a shear pin during the morning snow blowing session that I did. I didn't have that recorded, but basically I just got a rock stuck in there. My landlord enjoys having rocks all around the property, and sadly they do get stuck in my snow blowers, so I always have to have shear pins on hand. And in this case, it just got stuck to the back left corner of the snowblower. I grabbed myself some vice grips and then I was able to kind of yank it out of there. Shear pins are pretty easy to replace, of course. It's really just about having the ability to get the old shear pin out, because if your pin shears awkwardly, well, you might want to have something on hand to tap, 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 get that out of there. Overall, though, my opinion of the EGO SNT2416 stands, and it stands well, it stands tall. I haven't encountered enough of a battery drain for me to have to walk back inside, and those 10 amp hour batteries are serious business. They definitely do the job. It's enabled me to be able to take care of my neighbors as well as take care of the sidewalk for legitimately half of my block. So if I'm able to do that with a pretty long driveway, granted it's a single car driveway, but you can fit 3 cars in that driveway, I imagine that everyone else is going to be doing just fine for having enough power to get through their snow blowing job. The EGO SNT2416 was the right purchase for me, because I needed something that was exactly that size with exactly those size of batteries so that I could do all of the work that I need to, especially in the Wisconsin climate, and get it done efficiently. I certainly would buy it again. I think gas snowblowers are kind of on their way out of credibility, because you have to put a lot of maintenance into those machines. For an all-electric system, basically all that you're worried about is your electronics. And since I've been using EGO products for as long as I have now, which is about 3 years, I'd say, I have full faith in them working properly. I've never encountered a situation where a piece of EGO equipment doesn't work for me. They always work. So with that being the case, I recommend the ecosystem, I recommend the snowblower, and I'm really looking forward to continuing to use it. From my perspective, it's still one of those things where it's like a nice toy that I get to take out of the garage and have a good time with. Granted, I'm cold and being pelted by snow, but you know, there's worse things. There's worse things for a Wisconsinite. I really enjoy the hardware. I really enjoy the features on there. Having the lights, having the heated handles, having the turn grips. There's not really anything that I have to criticize. Looking at it going forward, I'll definitely be purchasing more EGO products. I definitely think that they have a great value proposition. They always perform the way that I need them to, as long as you pick exactly what you need. You know, don't get the cheapest leaf blower, get kind of the middle ground, or get the expensive leaf blower, stuff like that. If you invest properly into the EGO ecosystem, it pays dividends. And I was really curious to see if a snowblower that's all electric could actually perform in the Wisconsin climate, and I'm still blown away. You know, it is genuinely impressive to see something that even the gas snowblowers have struggled with always in my home state, and suddenly a Challenger comes along that's all electric, and the only thing that it says is, hey, you got some slush that's stuck in the auger, you want to help me out? There are far worse things, folks, I promise you that. Anyway, that's just my perspective on this. It was a crazy snowfall on Friday the 12th of January this year. Hopefully we don't have anything too bad going forward, but this is Wisconsin, so we'll kind of see how that goes. Anyway, thanks everyone for tuning back into the CB View. As always, I will have more product reviews and more things to go over with you guys in the future. But thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for checking out this video, and I look forward to seeing you guys again very soon. Thanks so much.